Okay, here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Volunteer Training for the Women's Convention. We have here your trainers, Stephanie Kenner,
Hi, I'm Amber.
and we are both from the local host committee from Detroit. So, first of all, we wanted to just thank you so much for volunteering your time. We honestly couldn't pull this event off without so many wonderful volunteers. So, just really appreciate your time both at the convention and here taking training. So we're going to take a quick look at the agenda for the training today. First, we're going to give you a high-level look at the program for the convention and where the volunteer shifts fit in. Then we're going to give you some information about the Cobo Center, where the convention will be located. We're going to talk about volunteer logistics and what you can expect on the day of and where you need to be. Some idea of which roles volunteers will be playing. Some notes on accessibility. And then finally, volunteer expectations. So now we're going to dive into our program. So as you know, the convention is lasting 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. For the most part, on Friday and Saturday, we will be at the convention all day. So Friday, it's from 8 a.m. to 8:30. Saturday, 8 to 7:45 with some overlap with the concert. And then on Sunday, we've got a half day going on. So not every volunteer shift is exactly the same length, as you guys can see on the right side there. So the reason that is we tried to mirror the programming schedule so that as volunteers, you're able to attend as much of the convention as possible in the parts of the day where you aren't volunteering. So each day has a morning, midday, and afternoon shift. And there's two special shifts to note. On Saturday night, we do have an extra evening shift that will cover our social justice concert specifically. And on Sunday morning, we have a shift from 3 to 6 p.m. That's the afternoon. Sorry about that. On Sunday afternoon, we have a shift from 3 to 6 after the programming is done, and that's specifically for tear down and cleanup in the center. You'll notice there are a few brief overlaps in shifts, and that's to make sure that all of our areas have coverage and we won't have gaps while folks are learning to take over from one another. Okay, so next we have the Cobo Center. You can see on the screen here, the Cobo Center is the building in the lower left, is where we'll be housing our convention. It is a 4-story convention center, and it's right on the Detroit riverfront. And during the convention, we're going to be utilizing all 4 levels of the center. So to get there, first of all, there are a lot of parking opportunities around Cobo, both street level and garages. I will let you know that the street level parking is a bit cheaper. So especially if you have one of the morning shifts and you're able to get there early, that might be a good option to check out. If you want to look in more detail, there are several maps available at cobocenter.com, and they have detailed information about exactly where there's parking. The Cobo Center itself has attached roof desk parking and an attached underground garage, and that's called Cobo Center Washington Boulevard Garage. Just so you know, the Cobo Center also has a stop on the Detroit People Mover, and that's the elevated rail service that goes throughout downtown Detroit. So it is possible for you to park somewhere else downtown and take the People Mover to the Cobo Center. All right, so I'm going to show you a series of maps that show each level of Cobo. I know that they probably look pretty small on screen. When you guys actually take a look at the file, you can expand them, but just so that you're aware, when you do come to your volunteer shift, we have maps in the programs that are specific to the Women's Convention that have a lot of the rooms highlighted, so no need to study these and memorize or anything. So level 100 has a mix of both event halls and meeting rooms, and it's the level that opens up to the Detroit Riverwalk. This is one of our most important levels because that is where the volunteer room is. You can see right here. So that is 111 AB. Some of the other permanent rooms on this level, the youth track is right next to us. Emily's list is in 112 ABCD. There'll be Oxfam Refugee Road and 142C. And this is where we'll also have our Social Justice City Women's Market and Art Gallery. This level is also where a lot of our family-oriented rooms are. So there's a nursing pod and a child watch room. Like I said, the program will have all the details of these rooms. There may be some small changes, but we will make sure that you are updated on the day of so that you know where everything is. So on the next level, this is 200. This is, again, a mixed use level. This is the level that opens up on Jefferson Avenue, so it's the street level with the rest of downtown. So this is probably where you'll be entering the building. This is where some of our main stages are. Our main stage is in Hall D. This is also where we'll find registration information and our accessibility services table. Again, any small changes we will let you know about on the day of. So level 300 has several different meeting rooms. Some of the permanent spaces here are, again, some more family-oriented. So we have a parents' room and a non-stimulus room. And this is also where we'll have healing spaces like yoga and where we'll be housing the Planned Parenthood track. And then finally, level 400 has a mix of halls and meeting rooms, and this is where the Detroit People Mover Station is located, and we have a lot of our breakout sessions occurring here. So just wanted to reiterate, don't have to memorize any of that. You will have a map with you at all times, but just wanted to give you kind of a crash course in navigating the Cobo Center, and as with any map you're looking at, it'll make a lot more sense when you're in the building. So the most important thing to remember is that for your volunteer shift, you're coming to room 111 AB, and that's on level 100. That's the key thing to remember. So Cobo Center has a few rules and regulations from their policies, and I just wanted to share a couple of relevant ones with you guys. And so first of all, important for some of our volunteer stations is that Cobo Center personnel and employees are the ones that have to perform any movement of Cobo's furniture and equipment. So arrangements can be made to move things, but all the speakers were asked to provide their preferences in advance, so the rooms really should be set up already. So if there's any need articulated to you about needing to move furniture, just pass that on to a volunteer lead before you do that. Next, so individuals that are exhibiting behavior that is disruptive or aggressive, that may be indicative of intoxication, will be expelled from Cobo Center. So that's pretty standard. Keeping exits clear, important for crowd management. So at no time can any exit doors be blocked or obstructed. And then finally, the restrooms, concession stands, and facility kitchens can't be used as any cleanup. So for those of you who may be joining us in our tear down, can't use cleanup in those areas. Then in the event of an emergency, we hope we don't have, but we want to be prepared, there will be a voice message with instructions, and Cobo's security will assist in evacuation. And bottom line, we've been working with Cobo to make sure that their emergency procedures are accessible and not harmful to the vast majority of our patrons. So, eliminating strobe lights and that sort of thing. So we'll be asking you just to follow the instructions of the security staff that are there, and we're working on an identifiable alert system appropriate to our convention with the Cobo Center. Okay, so that is the nuts and bolts of the building. Now we're going to transition into volunteer logistics and roles. So, reiterating once again that when you arrive, you need to check in at room 111AB. It's on level 100, just as a reminder. If your shift starts in the afternoon and you are planning on attending the morning convention programming, do check in this volunteer room first in order to receive your credentials. And then once your shift is scheduled to start, return again to room 111AB. When you check in, you'll be asked to sign a liability waiver for the convention. So make sure that you arrive 15 minutes prior to your shift start. It's really important to be on time and arrive early in order to receive your assignments, fill out that liability waiver, and get any last-minute instructions if there's any changes. You will also at that time be receiving a convention volunteer shirt. So that is what you have to wear to identify yourself as an official volunteer. And as to keep us as uniform as possible, we ask that you also wear dark pants or jeans with that. And then finally, if you are unable to volunteer, please let us know ahead of time. We're trying to make sure that we've got a really cohesive plan, so it's helpful to know if you can't join us anymore. And please email Women's Convention Volunteer 2017 at gmail.com if that is the case. Okay, now I'm going to shift over to my colleague Amber, who's going to take you through volunteer roles.
Hi everyone, thanks again for joining. We are going to talk about a few of the roles that volunteers will be doing during convention. So the basic roles are room setup, registration, wayfinders and ADA support, crowd management, speaker management, merchandise assistance, and takedown. For room setup, since we already mentioned that the convention center is fully responsible for moving any of the furniture or fixtures, we are not expecting volunteers to move any tables and chairs. What this entails is that we will be assisting the speakers with setting up any of their materials. We will make sure that they have water and other supplies that they might need. And most important is to make sure you get your instructions and check in early, 15 minutes, so that you know exactly what the needs are in the room where you'll be working. At the registration table, we will make sure that people get their credentials, their tote bag, and any other maps and information and accessibility assistance that they need. For crowd management and speaker management, same thing. We will be giving instructions to all volunteers in the room before they deploy on their role. We will make sure that all of our guests and visitors know where to go in the building. We'll help everyone find the restroom, help everyone find their meeting or their
Rooms?
space,
Yeah.
right? Their space for the panel that they want to listen to. Finally, we will assist with taking down all of the accoutrement we have set up. We will neatly stack up and collect all of our belongings and make sure that we leave Cobo Center just as well as we found it. Next, let's talk about accessibility. We have a great deal of supports ready for those who need it, because our full intention is to make sure that all people are able to enjoy the convention and get the most out of it. So we will have accessibility tables available throughout the convention, and we want to make sure that the participants get all the services that they need. And if you are a volunteer assisting with accessibility, we're going to go through a couple of things that we need to make sure people get. So there's going to be wheelchair checkout, wheelchair stewards, sighted guides to help people reach their sessions. There will be American Sign Language, ASL interpreters, scribes who will take notes for any participants who need it, participants who can assist others in getting their materials in different formats that they have requested ahead of time, and generally helping folks get the information they need. There will also be CART, live captioning during sessions, and communications access will be available for breakout sessions for those who made requests in advance. So, some of the basics of what we expect volunteers to do while helping everyone access the convention. Always ask anyone how you can help them. How can I help you? How may I help you? What can I do to help you? We always want to make sure that all participants know that we are here to make sure that all their needs are met. And also, it's important to understand that those who have needs are the best for communicating exactly what their needs are themselves. If someone has an attendant or helper with them, that is fine. Only speak with the attendant when it's been made clear that that's the person you should be talking to. Otherwise, always speak directly to the participant and make eye contact with them to ask them what they need. In case of an emergency and assisting people with disabilities in an emergency situation, it's always important to keep in mind at the forefront the dignity and integrity of anyone who is using assistive technology, mobility and assisted devices, personal attendants and service animals and medicines. Always make sure that we are making sure that people are safe and well cared for, just as if that person was your dearest loved one. For volunteers, we expect that you will be judicious in your use of scents and chemicals on your body. Many people have sensitivities to fragrances and chemicals, and so for volunteers to come to the convention without wearing strong perfumes, strong lotions, or other items that have strong scents and chemicals. It can trigger a strong reaction in those people who are sensitive. So please refrain. Next, we are we're going to remember that when someone is using an mobility device, or when you're helping anyone who needs help with movement and mobility, always ask someone before touching them, first and foremost, but also before touching any of the equipment that they use for help. Ask someone if they need help, make eye contact with them, never touch a person or their equipment, and always remember that someone's mobility assistance equipment is part of their personal space. So the best thing you can do is make eye contact, ask what you can do to help them, and remove any physical barriers that might be in the way of the person or their device. Whenever you're helping someone who is blind or low vision, make sure you speak directly to the person you are helping, identify yourself clearly, and ask if printed material should be read to them. Do not automatically read it out loud. Ask if that is what the participant would like. If you are volunteering as a sighted guide, offer your elbow if needed, and never pull someone along follow the pace that they set and lead and watch out for the person you are guiding. If anyone you are with, if anyone you're assisting has a guide dog or service animal, make sure that there are no barriers for the animal, and also always remember, never touch the animal. Always follow the instructions of the person the animal is servicing. And remember, those who have low vision may not be fully blind, and simply ask the person what they need. The most important thing to remember is not to make assumptions and to do your best to help the person have a good experience. For assisting participants who are deaf or hard of hearing, always speak to the participant, not to their interpreter. Remember to think about how you appear to the person who is receiving information from you. Make sure you're positioned in a well-lit space so that someone can see your lips and your face. Try to find somewhere that reduces background noise for those who are using hearing aids. And if necessary, offer another form of communication, such as pen and paper, writing it down, scribing, texting, or typing on a laptop if it's available. Always remember, ask people what they need. Do not yell or talk loudly at anyone. And if needed, and if they have an attendant, make sure you always speak to the participant first and follow their instructions if they instruct you to work with their attendant. Next, speaking more about personal attendants, anyone with any type of disability could have a support worker and an interpreter or volunteer family member with them. If you have questions specifically for the person with a disability, remember to ask them and work with the personal attendant if you have a question for them too. We're all humans here, and we'll speak for ourselves unless otherwise instructed. And next, for people with speech or language disabilities, always remember that just because someone is not able to speak clearly to you doesn't mean that they don't understand when you speak clearly. What you can do to be most helpful is to ask simple questions with yes, or ask questions with yes or no answers, so that the person with a speech or language disability doesn't have to give you a long-winded answer. So think about how you would like to phrase your questions, and take your time. Definitely listen to the person speaking. You're not in a rush, and it's our turn to talk after someone has finished speaking. So we'll wait and listen clearly, listen attentively, and never interrupt or rush them. To confirm what you've heard, definitely repeat what you heard and speak directly to the person you are speaking with. And also, if they have a device that they would like to use to help them communicate, definitely ask if there's anything like an iPad or other device that you can use to help them. For our guests and participants who have any learning, cognitive, or developmental disabilities, we don't know unless we're told, and what's most important to remember is to ask people what they need and what you can do to help. Never make assumptions about what a person can or cannot do, or what they do or do not understand. When finding out, be patient and give people time to explain what they need. Provide information in the way that works best for them. Rephrase your explanations or talk about your information in a different way. Be as plain and clear as you possibly can be, and be direct to explain what is going on. For those who are joining us with mental health disabilities, our job as volunteers is to make sure that our community members always feel respected, and we want to do that always by asking before touching all people, and especially people with any special needs and disabilities. Make sure that we stay calm as volunteers and helpers, and be confident and reassure the people that you're with. If it is necessary for the person you're assisting, avoid crowded areas, interruptions, and places with loud noise. Remember that we do have a healing space, which is specifically made to be quiet and calming. And for anyone who indicates to you that they're having a hard time and they need support, make sure that we get them to the disability services area so that we can find out exactly what to do to help someone. But always remember, most importantly, ask before touching. Even though hugs are very reassuring to many of us, they are not to all of us. So make sure that you ask first. Once again, about service animals, working animals are not to be petted, and you can always provide water for service animals if they need it. Ask first to ask the person who the animal is working with, and make sure you remind others not to touch service animals and not to pet them. Although they are extremely cute and very loving and calm, we need to make sure that we respect their job. The law does require us to allow certified service animals in certain parts of any public building, and there will be a service animal relief area across the street from the Cobo Center main entrance. So if someone's service animal needs to go to the bathroom, there is that area available. So make sure that you go to the grass there across the street and pay attention to the needs of the animal. Check in with the person you're with and find out the needs of the person and the animal. And if you're not sure if an animal is a working service animal, just ask. So this has been a lot of information, and we just want to cover a few more points before we go. The press. The press will definitely be all over, and if you receive information if you receive a request while you are volunteering for information or an interview, volunteers should refer all press to the press coordinator. You cannot speak as a representative of the Women's March or the Women's March Convention. However, your free to speak in your own capacity as a member of the community. Once again, we strive to be scent-free and chemical-free as policy and as much as possible, and we want to keep it safe and comfortable for all people. Some people experience chemicals and fragrances as an access barrier. So in order to be inclusive, we refrain from wearing scented products like lotions and fragrances, hairsprays, perfumes, and the items that you use for laundry. And a note on intersectionality. Always remember that we are so grateful for volunteers to step up and give their time and their energy and all of their efforts to make this event incredible and wonderful for all people. And we do want to be clear about our expectations for respectful conduct for all of our volunteers. The Women's Convention is woman-led, and it's an effort to bring people of all races, all genders, all cultures, all political affiliations, people of all abilities and backgrounds together around an ambitious, fundamental, and comprehensive agenda. We recognize that women have intersecting identities, and women are therefore impacted by multiple issues of social justice and human rights. We welcome vibrant collaboration in the space, and we know that misunderstandings and disagreements may occur naturally. We understand that and we acknowledge that. The Women's Convention is intended to be a safe environment for honest and meaningful conversations that help create learning and help foster growth. And this can't happen unless we treat each other with respect at all times. We suspend our judgments and actively diffuse our own defensiveness. What I remember this being called is taking care of ourselves. It's important for us to take care of our feelings and remember that our feelings belong to us, and it is no one else's job to take care of our feelings for us. It takes bravery and strength to be honest and to be vulnerable and to be compassionate. This, I know, and Stephanie here with me understands that this has been very hard work, and we've had to be very courageous to lean into our conflicts and have the patience to understand each other. Understanding the privileges that some of us hold and others do not is a crucial part to giving others space to share their difficult and vulnerable truth about what they experience in life. We honor each other and we honor the legacies of all the movements that have come before us, and we're working toward the collective liberation of all women, all races, all ethnicities, all ages, all abilities, all sexual identities, all gender expressions, all immigration statuses, all religious faiths, and economic statuses. We welcome you, and we absolutely cannot wait to be in community with you. If you have any more questions, make sure you email us. It is...
Yep. Hold on one second. I've got it. If you have any questions, email Women's Convention Volunteer 2017 at gmail.com. So I'll just say it one more time. It is also earlier in the slides, but Women's Convention Volunteer 2017 at gmail.com.
You can click on the link to submit the Google form to let us know that you have completed this slide deck and you agree to and understand all the information here. And we are not able to place volunteers in special roles that they request. Everybody will be filled into a role as needed. And we thank you for your flexibility. And again, we thank you for your time.
And just wanted to hop in here. Very, very sorry about any of the technological issues surrounding this training. Thank you for sticking with us. We really, really appreciate it.
We're so excited to see you.
Yeah.